Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Devvon Terrell in raw form, and welcome to another Help Me Devvon tutorial. And today, in this Help Me Devvon tutorial, I'll be showing you guys a secret 808 trick that they probably don't want you to know about. A way to make your 808 sound deeper, more subby, and really mean, kind of like the modern day records that we're hearing a lot in today's music. I'm going to take your 808 from this to this. Now, make sure you're listening to this in headphones or on something that can reproduce sub information. If you heard that, you'll notice that the 808 sounds a lot more deeper. It sounds a lot more aggressive and mean. And the beautiful thing about it, it adds a lot more actual sub information so you can get those really deep subs when people are driving in their cars and get that true feeling of that knock. Now, what you'll also notice in this is that there's not much of a volume difference. I'll show you exactly what I mean. Let's come on over to here. And I want you to pay attention to this right here. This right here at the bottom. This is the original 808. And then I'll play you the new 808 with all the effects as far as what we did to get it deeper. Pay attention to the volume. So watch this as far as where it peaks. This is the original. And now let's see where our deeper, meaner, more gritty 808 is peaking at. Check this out. It's literally 0.2 dB louder than the original, but we have so much more of a bang and so much more of sub information when it comes to that 808. How did we do this? Now, before we go any further, I'm going to ask you guys to comment, like, and subscribe to keep this channel going. Also, make sure you visit helpmedevvon.info at any time to get some of our presets, vocal templates, and vocal chains, and a bunch of other goodies like that to keep this channel going. Now let's get to it. Okay, so we had an 808, and basically you heard what it sounded like originally. It thumped. It sounded great. I liked the way it sounded, but I wanted some more sub, and I wanted to really make sure that it competed with the more modern day stuff that's out there. Now, how did I accomplish this? First thing I did was I went on over here to a plugin called Low Air. And what Low Air is a sub-harmonic generator. Long story short, all it does is introduces sub-harmonic frequencies into your actual original signal that sound natural, that sound like it belongs there, that's in key. It adds these nuances to the sound that's already there to basically give it more feel as far as the sub information. This is specifically for sub information. So it's adding sub-harmonic frequencies to the actual 808 sound or whatever the bass signal is. So I'm going to play this before and after. Take a listen to what it sounds like before, and then I'll play it after. And now with. Now, if you listen on your headphones or on some sub information, you'll notice it is rumbling. There's so much low end that's there. And I know what you're saying. Hey, that sounded like too much. You're absolutely correct. Stay with me on this. What this thing did was it added sub-harmonic frequencies and it made it rumble. It gave it that bottom end. Now, let's exaggerate it a little bit just so I can give you an idea of what this sub-harmonic generator can do for stuff. So first, let me copy my settings. And what I'm going to do is, the only knob I really mess with is this button that says low. So let's bring this low knob way back to 0. And then what I'll do is I'll crank it just to give you an idea of what it can do as you crank it. Check this out. Okay, so you heard that. As you crank it, there's so much low end that gets introduced to the signal. Now, the key here is to, as you're adding some sub-harmonic frequencies or some of this low knob in, you need to compensate for that because obviously you're going to be clipping. So what I do is, as I'm giving it more of that sound, I find like a nice spot where it sounded okay. And then I'm going to back off on the volume just a little bit so that I'm not clipping. So let's bring this back and I'll find the sweet spot. So right there gives me just what I want. Just a little bit of that rumble and a little bit more of low end and that wobbling sound. Kind of like that, just a little bit of that low end. And I know what you're saying. That is too much. I got you. Stay with me. I'm going to show you something because I know you're saying to yourself, well, how did you get the volume to basically be the same with adding so much signal? I'm going to show you. So long story short, I added about 15.5 of the low into the signal, and then I brought it back down from the output about negative 2.8 so that I'm not clipping. Thus, I have an 808 that's not clipping. But now there's a lot of the low end that's in our signal, and it's not as loud as far as the top end of that 808 as it was before. So how do we get that sound to come back as far as the volume is concerned for the top end of the 808, which is very important. But at the same time, we love that new sound that we kind of got in that low end. Well, here is where we're going to do some compression to control the low end and at the same time bring it up as we control the low end to get that 808 to be tight, to sound, to have that low end sound, but at the same time still retain that high end information that cuts through on your speakers that are smaller. So let's go on over, and what I'm going to pull up is a multi-band compressor. Do not be afraid. Just stay with me. You can use any multi-band compressor that you see fit. I'm going to show you what I did in my multi-band that you can use on your own. So let's enable this multi-band. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play you this and I'm going to show you what it's doing. I'm going to bypass it back and forth. Pay attention to what is actually happening. So without first, and then I'll bypass it back and forth. So if you look at this closely, you'll see that all we have on the multiband is it attenuating or basically cutting or bringing down or compressing the low end. Literally, I have it at the band of 60 hertz. So everything from 60 hertz and below, I told this multi-band compressor, I want you to compress it. I want you to bring that stuff down and keep it tight and keep it controlled. Thus, we still retain that sonic sound of what we created, but we're controlling it more, which will then allow us more headroom to turn up the entire thing together, thus giving us that full fat sound that we have. So let's look at my settings as far as how I'm compressing it. And I know what you're saying. You're compressing that low end a lot. Yeah, but how did it sound? It sounded more controlled, but at the same time, we still get all of that information. So let's look at it closely and let's see how we compress the bottom end as far as what we gave into it. So right here, what I'm doing is I have a multi-band compressor and I have the attack to about a medium to slow attack. And the reason why I have a medium to slow attack on that is because I still want that transient information to cut through as far as that initial jolt and hit. But at the same time, I want it to be controlled as it comes in. I have the release set to a very fast release so that that feeling of the whoom, boom, boom, kind of still moves. Don't make fun of me, and kind of still feels like it's breathing, and it still feel like it has some dynamics in the 808. Now you'll notice that I have it attenuating or bringing it down or compressing it a lot. I have it bringing it down to a range of about -8. Now, what the range means on your multi-band compressor is what is the furthest or the most dB wise you would want us or allow us to bring this down. So I said, hey, the most I want you to attenuate this sound is -8 dB. But depending on my threshold is my way of telling the compressor, hey, I want you to give it less or more. So let's look at how much dB I'm literally compressing this 808 as far as the 60 hertz and below range in this entire thing. So check this out really closely. The way you can tell on this particular multiband is it has lines. And as you can see, if we go all the way across, you'll see it says -6 right here, -3 right here, -9. This tells you how much it's bringing it down. So let's see how much it's bringing it down. Check this out. So I'm getting about -6 dB of gain reduction on that 60 hertz and below range. Also, something that I'm doing is I'm boosting the entire 808 altogether about 2.2 dB. As you can see right here, the total output level has now increased about 2.2 dB, because now that I've controlled and brought down so much of that 808 sound in the low end, it's allowed me to have more headroom. Since I have more headroom, now I can crank the entire 808 back up a little bit so that it can still be at that same volume level that we had before, but with the added nuances of that sub. So I'm going to play this with and without again, just so you have an idea of what it sounds like. So I'm taking both my plugins off that I'd used, the low air and the multiband compressor, and let's hear what it sounds like, and then I'll put it back on. I'll keep bypassing it back and forth. Listen close. So when I have it engaged, you notice the 808 sounds meaner, sounds aggressive. It has some low end frequencies that have been added. If you listen on a sub, you hear this so clearly as far as how much low end got added to the entire sound. And when I have it disengaged, it still sounds great. This is a preference also as far as what you want. But if you're looking for an 808 that sounds a little bit more deeper in tone and more subby, then this is a cool technique that you can use to achieve just that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Make sure you follow us at Help Me Devvon on the Instagram. Also, make sure that you visit helpmedevvon.info for some of our vocal chains, presets, etc., and a bunch of other goodies to keep this channel going. So I hope that was helpful. Make sure you join our Discord community as well with a lot of aspiring engineers just like yourself. So I hope that was helpful, and until next time.